My washing machine at home sings in 3 notes when a cycle ends, do, do, so, and I always answer it like a doorbell. Towels get folded in thirds, teas in rectangles, socks paired like partnerships I can actually control. People at work call me organized. That's not it. I'm someone who once got turned into a punchline in front of the people I loved, and laundry was the stage. Keeping things tidy is how I keep the stage from lighting up again. I'm Daniel, 29. I live 2 floors up from a bakery that starts the day at 4 a.m., which means the smell of bread is my alarm clock and also my daily reminder that you can turn raw mess into something that feeds people. I can list every bathroom between my place and the train without checking a map. None of these facts are random. They're the borders around an old story that kept getting told without my permission until I learned to hold the pen. Before the story became the story, the family favorite, the easy laugh, the thing that made a room point at me like a mascot, it was just a hot July afternoon in a small town where the grocery store felt like the only cathedral with air conditioning. My mom had 3 moods: kind in the morning, efficient in public, and exhausted after 5. That day, she was in efficient public mode, scanning shelves, reading prices out loud like she was narrating a game show for one. The list was long, the budget was shorter, and I was 7. Small for 7, determined to be brave, desperate not to be a problem. The store had those humming fluorescents that make cereal mascots look like they're shouting. By the freezer cases, a cheerful employee in a paper hat handed out dairy samples with little toothpicks. I didn't know yet that my stomach and free dairy were enemies. I took one because saying no felt like failing a test I hadn't studied for. We were halfway down the cracker aisle when my body decided to file a complaint with reality. If you've ever been 7 and proud in public, you know the exact second a plan becomes a wish. It wasn't dramatic. No crash, no cry. It was the warm certainty of an accident happening while you're standing under a row of cartoon animals who will all outlive you. Shame doesn't kick the door in, it puts a hand over your mouth. I froze. The hum of the lights got louder. My face felt like it had borrowed the sun. I remember the exact thought that arrived. I can fix this. The heroism of a child. My mom noticed the silence before she noticed me. She was good at noticing silences, the way a room holds its breath when something's off. She crouched, scanned me with quick nurse eyes, and the efficiency clicked in. No scene, cart parked. We're going. Said with a calm that kept our universe intact. At the register, she apologized for leaving the cart like it was a moral failing. The cashier waved us away like mercy. Out in the heat, the car felt like a rescue capsule. She put a grocery bag on the seat for me like a makeshift parachute, rolled the windows down to maximum, and drove one-handed with the precision of a pilot. The ride home was 12 minutes on the clock and an hour in my head. Every red light was a courtroom. I stared straight ahead and practiced not crying, which is a sport kids in my family learn early, because tears do not change adult plans, they only make the room louder. Mom kept her voice level, humming along to the radio, a kindness disguised as distraction. I thought wildly about stepping out of the car at the next light and just walking, but I was 7, and the world was the size of the grocery store parking lot. Home was a 1-bathroom rental with a mirror that had come pre-smudged and a medicine cabinet with someone else's sticker residue on the inside. Mom ran warm water and gave me a quick bath like we were late to something important, gentle, efficient, no commentary that would turn the scene into a lesson. She wrapped me in a towel that smelled like detergent and sun, then handed me a clean t-shirt, the tired dinosaur, and fresh shorts. It felt like a reset button. Almost. The problem sat on the tile like a confession. The underwear. Nobody tells you in 2nd grade what the protocol is for disaster laundry. It's not covered in safety assemblies. There's no poster. I stood there, wrapped in cotton and panic, and understood on a cellular level that the evidence mattered more than the act. If you grow up in a family that treats stories as currency, you learn early that artifacts fund narratives. Mom's cordless phone rang, landline, long antenna, the kind of ring that filled a whole house. She answered in friendly public voice, tucked the phone between shoulder and cheek, laughed at something I couldn't hear, and waved me toward the laundry room with the same wave she used for a be useful, be fast, be quiet. I knew that wave. It was a permission slip and a test. 7-year-old logic is its own science. I picked up the underwear with the tips of my fingers like it could bite. Option trees sprang up in my head. Option A, trash. Pros, out of sight. Cons, we used a small open bin. Smell would testify. Someone would take the trash out and find a wrapped truth looking back. Verdict, too risky. Option B, toilet. I imagined dropping it in and hitting the handle and watching it whirl away like secrets in a movie. I also imagined the toilet choking, backing up, turning our bathroom into a headline. I pictured the plumber, the bill, my mother's face. Verdict, Karchin solution. Hard no. Option C, sink and soap. Rinse. Hide the evidence in cleaning. But I was small, the sink was high, and the faucet was grumpy even on good days. My arms ached at the idea of scrubbing failure like a crime scene, and if Mom walked in, I'd be a spectacle and a flood. Option D, outside. Backyard? We didn't have one, just a strip of gravel that pretended to be a yard and a neighbor who smoked and noticed everything. Burying was for movies and dogs. Option E, the hamper. The hamper was plastic and white with oval holes down the side, a mouth that ate our week. It lived in the laundry closet beside the washer like a trusted assistant. If I put it at the bottom, under the beach blanket and towels, the washer would do what machines promised, wash. The private would become general, the shame would become soap and water, and then memory. That's what I told myself. The hamper is where mess goes to become boring. I picked E. Before I committed, I added a child's step F, wrapping. I pulled a loop of toilet paper like ribbon off a spool and swaddled the underwear the way I'd seen mummies in a library book. If I covered the evidence, maybe it would pass through the house undetected, and the washer would eat it like a magician's scarf. I told myself I was being helpful, protecting the hamper, sparing my mother, aiding the future. For a moment I thought about perfume, Mom's old bottle that lived on a shelf above the dryer, a smell too floral for our small house. I reached up, touched the cool glass, then pulled my hand back. I pictured her asking why the laundry smelled like a flower shop in a crime scene. I put the bottle down and whispered, "Okay," to nobody. I crouched by the hamper and lifted the lid like an altar. The top layer was today's towels, warm from the dryer. Below, the beach blanket from last week's lake trip, still rich with sunscreen and a version of Joy we rented by the hour. My hand shook in a way I wouldn't call shaking because I wanted to be brave in the narrative I was writing in real time. I thought about leaving a marker, a towel folded a certain way so future me could check if someone had searched and found. But paranoia and 7 don't mix well. I tucked the little mummy deep, slid the blanket back like a magician palming a coin, and closed the lid. My heart pounded like a dryer with shoes in it. I washed my hands for so long my fingers wrinkled like raisins. I wiped the sink with the corner of my towel just in case water itself told on me. Then I sat on the edge of the tub and waited for the house to explode. It didn't. It did what houses do when you're a kid and you've done something big. It kept standing there. We had a barbecue that evening at my aunt's house. In our family, food is the geology everything else sits on. The porch boards were warm from the day. The ice clinked in tea glasses like ornaments. My older cousins practiced leaning against railings like it was a class. I climbed the maple and scraped my knee and told myself the sting was about bark, not about a washing machine that would eventually tell the truth. Families have rituals, and ours was porch storytelling after sugar. The greatest hits came out first. The truck my uncle chased when he accidentally left it in gear, the haircut that made my cousin look like a broom, the alarm that panicked over bacon. Everyone knows the rhythms. Set up, twist, laughter, repeat. Jokes are a currency adults trade when money and apologies are scarce. Then my mom took a breath in that way performers do when they've decided a room owes them a laugh. She warmed her voice. She painted a scene. The hot store. The stubborn child. The long, heroic ride home with windows rolled to mercy. The surprise in the bathroom. She shaped the air with her hands to show size that wasn't really about size. It was about how a room leans in. She didn't say my name at first. A good storyteller saves it for the drop. Then she did. She said I'd wrapped the underwear like a tiny mummy and tucked it like contraband at the bottom of the hamper, and everyone clapped with their faces. My aunt did that forward lean that means she loves a good ending. My uncle called it resourceful. The porch shook with easy laughter. There are kinds of laughter that include you and kinds that decorate you. That night, I got decorated. I didn't cry. I understood the room's economy. Tears buy you more of the thing you're trying to escape. I laughed along too. Too loud. The understudy selling the line the lead gave him. The maple leaves rattled like they knew better.
Only my grandmother watched me like weather. She didn't interrupt the porch. It wasn't her role to fight laughter with lectures. But when I went into the kitchen for more ice, she followed with a slow set of steps, opened the freezer, and said, in a voice you use for skittish animals and children who've learned to be furniture, "Washing machines are good at their job, and some stories can be told once and then be done." It was a sentence small enough to carry in a pocket. It didn't fix the porch. It kept me upright in it. The next morning, physics came to collect. Toilet paper, it turns out, is not a team player in machines. The washer made a sound like it was chewing gravel and then stopped with a mechanical sulk. Mom yelled my name from the laundry closet in the tone that means the universe needs a scapegoat. I stood in the doorway and became 7 and guilty. She asked why I never think anything through. I held the trash bag like a peace offering, while we peeled away goopy lint that had decided to be architecture. I apologized to the lint trap like it was a friend. I promised 2 impossible things in my head. I would never break an appliance again, and I would never give anyone a story they could tell about me without me. You can guess how that went. The Hamper story stuck like gum under a porch chair. It was too good not to share. It traveled, birthdays, reunions, the time my mom needed to warm up the room at a coworker's party. It crossed playground borders when my cousins simplified it for friends and my name arrived ahead of me like a shadow. Nicknames flowered. Kids who liked me last week learned they could test their new comedic timing on me and still get a ride home. I learned to be fast with comebacks and faster with exits. Humor became a shield I held so tightly I forgot it was heavy.
At home, stories were currency. If Mom felt small at work, she paid for dinner with a performance. If we were late somewhere, she tipped with a tale. She was not a villain, she was a tired woman with a gift for narration who liked rooms that clapped. But intent isn't the same as impact. I wish adult me could have told her that without turning the kitchen into a courtroom. Childhood, meanwhile, kept happening around the Hamper. We moved apartments twice because the rent climbed stairs faster than we could. I learned the economy of small. Make a joke before anyone else does. Know the map of exits. Keep spare clothes in your backpack longer than necessary. Scout bathrooms like landmarks. At school, teachers loved reliable, which felt like a polite way to say invisible and convenient. When a sub forgot the hall pass in 4th grade gym, my stomach remembered the grocery store and I went home sick rather than ask. In 7th grade, I wrapped feedback in apologies like I'd learned to wrap evidence in paper. In 9th, a girl told me I was perfect with admiration I heard as accusation and dare, and I scrubbed baseboards until the house smelled like lemons and penance. There were bright spots. My neighbor Mrs. Boyd let me borrow books and never asked why I liked sitting with my back to the wall. My science teacher made me run the lab timer because she said I had a respect for process, which is the nicest way to tell a kid you can see his nervous system. My grandmother taught me how to start shirts and tell the difference between sharing and selling. One is a gift, she said, and one is a bargain. Don't sell yourself cheap. College was my first chance to choose an audience. I made friends who didn't know the porch. I dated with an exit plan and a spare hoodie in my backpack. If someone told a personal story in front of strangers, I watched their face first and the crowd second. Consent became the line I could finally see. I still mapped bathrooms like stars. I still folded t-shirts with the precision of a person training his hands to be useful. At 24, the story jumped time zones. My cousin's engagement dinner had a rented tent and a microphone, and parents who loved phrases like good sense of humor. Mom took the mic to warm up the room and reached for the old reliable. She changed details to freshen the laugh, storytellers do, and said my name early and often. The tent did its job. It trapped the weather. Everyone laughed. My date smiled too hard, the way you do when you're being gracious and doing math. On the drive home, she said she didn't love that I didn't defriend myself. I said, if you stand on a porch long enough, you forget the steps are optional. We broke up a month later, kindly. She left me with a word louder than it had ever been: boundaries. I wish I could give you a movie monologue. I don't have one. I had small experiments in saying no. On the phone, when Mom slid toward the Hamper anecdote to fill the silence, I learned to interrupt softly. I don't want to be talked about that way. The first time, my voice explored several pitches. The second time, fewer. By the 5th, she rolled her eyes and called me sensitive. I said, sensitivity is how I sense things early enough to protect them. The sentence surprised both of us with how grown it sounded.
Therapy helped, but not in the way I expected. My therapist didn't care about the laundry. She cared about the contract I wrote at 7. Be flawlessly competent, and no one can humiliate you, ever. She had me write my rules, the real ones, the ones under the jokes. Don't drink milk on road trips. Fine. Never ask for a bathroom, hold it or plan better. Crossed out, and also bring a map. You owe people your most embarrassing moment so they know you're real. Crossed out with a pen that felt like a crowbar. If you're perfect, they can't laugh. Crossed out hardest of all. Because perfection turns you into a statue, and statues don't get to move. We practiced not telling stories I didn't own. We practiced what to do when someone tells yours anyway. You can take it back by telling it better, she said, or by refusing the stage. Both are muscles you build. 2 winters ago, at a holiday dinner, the old rhythm started. Sugar, chairs pulled close, the call for a laugh. Mom inhaled, ready to conduct the room. I felt the tilt toward me. Porches everywhere have the same gravity. I put my hand flat on the table, not a slam, just an anchor, and spoke first. I said I had a story too, but mine was about a boy who learned to fix a washer at 7 and believed competence would keep him safe, and how that boy discovered he needed permission to keep some parts private. I described the difference between laughter that loves you and laughter that uses you. Then I asked a sentence I'd never tried out loud. Do you want to know what it felt like? Silence can be cruel. This one wasn't. No one rushed in with jokes to rescue the room from feeling. My grandmother nodded once, like a forecast finally matching the sky. My uncle found the label on his beer fascinating. My mom blushed in a way I hadn't seen since I was small. She said she didn't mean harm. I said harm doesn't wait for intentions. She didn't apologize with violins. She simply looked at me like maybe I wasn't material. It wasn't redemption, it was a hinge. We retired a few classics after that. The haircut saga stayed because my cousin loves telling it and owns the laugh. The runaway truck story remains immortal. He pitches it like a baseball game. The Hamper story went back to the laundry room where it belongs. At first, Mom caught herself halfway and rerouted. Later, she asked before sharing even harmless things, and sometimes kept them anyway because I said I'd rather tell them myself, or not tell them at all. Adulthood is logistics plus meaning. I still overpack, I still map bathrooms, but now it's a gentle habit, not a patrol. I put spare clothes in my trunk for rain, not panic. In meetings, I put water within reach because it helps, not because I'm rehearsing disaster. I answer my washer's little song out loud because I can. When I cook for friends, I'm the guy who wipes counters as he goes, not to erase evidence of humanity, but because clean space makes room for conversation. Mom comes over sometimes. She complains about parking and brings muffins. She treats apology like a language she's learning late. We practice small repairs, not renovations. She asks before she tells. I choose which stories I carry into rooms. The world didn't end. It improved by increments. I'm telling this one myself because I used to think the only way to diffuse a family legend was to give it oxygen until it burned out. Turns out a better way is to name it plainly and carry it somewhere kinder. A 7-year-old had an accident in a grocery store. He tried to hide the evidence the only way he knew. His mom, tired, funny, hungry for rooms that clapped, told it wrong for years. People laughed. He learned to disappear inside competence. Then he learned to reappear with boundaries. That's the whole movie. No director's cut needed. Sometimes when I do laundry, I still feel the old urgency. I shake out towels with too much attention. Muscle memory, not fear. The washer sings its 3-note anthem, do, do, sol. I answer it, ridiculous and also calm. I pull warm clothes from the drum and think about the difference between shame and simple maintenance. One keeps you small, the other lets you walk out the door in a shirt that smells like sun. Because you asked for the part kids remember. What I thought standing in that bathroom with the underwear in my hand, 7 and burning, I'll say it plainly. I thought about being an adult who never had to ask for help. I thought about the future like a hallway with 1,000 doors, all of them labeled don't. I thought the washer was a machine that could erase a story. I thought wrapping something in paper would make it clean. I thought hiding a mistake made me good. What I didn't know then, and know now, is that hiding just turns your hands into storytellers. The way you tuck something away teaches you a script. I spent years reciting it. Be useful, be fast, be quiet. Now the script is shorter and kinder. Be honest, be present, be allowed. If a kid finds this and needs a last line, let it be this. You don't owe anyone the version of you that bleeds on command. If someone tells your story without asking, you can say stop. You can keep the lid on your hamper and your dignity where you can reach it. And if you choose to tell it yourself, Do it like a late-night conversation, without cruelty, without spectacle, with the precise kindness you needed then. When the cycle ends, the washer sings. I answer. The door opens. I take the clean, warm ordinary in both hands, and I let the old story be just that, old.